I never imagined a simple birthday cake could reveal 5 years of hidden pain. After 5 long years of being pushed away by my own daughter-in-law, I had learned to live with lonely birthdays. I had stopped waiting for calls or messages. Silence had become normal, but this year felt different from the moment a knock sounded on my door. I opened it and found a young delivery man smiling and holding a glossy chocolate-frosted cake. There was no card, no warm note, no flowers. Just a plain box tied with a red ribbon. Inside the box lay a perfect cake, rich, smooth chocolate icing, sugar roses lined up as if measured by a ruler, and cold white letters that said, "Happy birthday, Mom." It looked too perfect, almost lifeless. I checked the invoice. The sender's name froze my hands, Malign Cross. 5 years. That's how long Malign had kept me out of my son's life. 5 years since she made Nathan believe that I was controlling, that I couldn't let go. I stared at that cake for a long time. I couldn't feel joy, only a chill crawling down my back. Then my phone buzzed. "Do you like it? It's your favorite." 8 words. No exclamation mark, no warmth, only ice. I typed slowly, my fingers steady. "Your parents will like it more." Then I placed the phone on the table and waited. Within minutes, the phone rang. Her voice trembled. "Mom, did you give it to them already?" "Give what to who?" I asked softly. "My parents. You can't let them eat it." The call ended. The silence that followed was deep and heavy. I stared at the cake again. For the first time in years, I smiled. A small, tired smile. Maybe this was my real birthday gift, the truth finally showing itself. That calmness didn't come from revenge. It came from understanding. I had been quiet for years, blamed for things I never did. But now the truth was knocking back. I put on my old coat, wrapped the cake in a towel, and stepped out into Portland's gray wind. The air smelled like rain. My heart was calm, almost peaceful. I was going to the South Side, to Melane's parents, Richard and Evelyn Cross. They had always been kind to me. Evelyn once held my hand after Leo's christening and whispered, "Don't be sad, Eleanor." Melaine can be a bit much sometimes. As I walked toward the taxi stand, memories came like cold rain. The first day I met Melaine, Thanksgiving 7 years ago. She had walked into my house in a cream-colored dress, smiling brightly, holding wild daisies. Her voice soft, her eyes sharp. She said, "I've heard so much about you. I wish I'd met you sooner." She called me ma'am, not mom. It sounded polite but distant. Nathan had told her how close we were, but she kept her distance like a wall covered in flowers. That night she charmed everyone. She laughed, asked about my recipes, complimented the curtains. But her eyes were studying me the whole time, not out of affection, but like she was measuring how to take control. My son was in love. Completely. After his father died, Nathan had become my whole world. We had built our life together through loss. Then Melanie came, and in one autumn evening, I felt like an extra piece in my own home. A month later, they got engaged. I said nothing but prayed he would be happy. After the wedding, things changed quietly. First, Maylene said, "Please don't call after 8. It's our dinner time." Then she said, "Let Leo settle before you visit." Her words were sweet, polite, but each one closed a door. Soon I became the outsider. Every visit felt like walking into someone else's house. She never shouted, never argued. She simply smiled and said things that sounded right but hurt deeply. When I brought a gift for Leo, she'd say, "He has too many toys already?" When I didn't bring one, she'd sigh, "You must be busy. You forgot his birthday." I learned that silence could be turned into a weapon. She made my quietness look like anger, my care look like control. Nathan changed too. He stopped telling me things. "Mom, don't overthink," he'd say. "Melaine just needs space." That phrase, "needs space," built a wall taller than any mountain. The first real wound came when they planned to buy a new house. I warned them gently, maybe wait another year. Rates are high. Before I could finish, Melaine said sweetly, "Hear that, Nathan? Your mom thinks I'm not capable." Nathan's face shifted. I saw the seed of doubt take root. From that day, I became the problem. Still, I kept trying. On Christmas, I baked waffles, made cider, and drove through snow to surprise them. I wanted to start a new family tradition. Malene opened the door and smiled politely. "Oh, Mom, we just finished opening presents." I could see untouched boxes still under the tree. Her lie was neat, practiced. I forced a smile. "I brought breakfast." Nathan appeared, surprised. "Mom, why didn't you call first?" Malene said softly, maybe she didn't know we wanted our own tradition this year. Our own tradition. Those words hit harder than any insult. I left early, pretending I had other plans. Driving home through snow, I stared at the white road ahead and realized the distance was complete. From then on, every holiday was theirs alone. I got short texts. "Merry Christmas, Mom." No invitation, no call. One spring, I learned from a neighbor that they'd held Leo's birthday party. I wasn't invited. I mailed a small gift, an animal picture book. A week later, the package returned unopened. The stamp read recipient moved. I called Nathan. "Mom, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you later," he said. That night, the phone never rang. Malene didn't shout to win. She used patience like a knife, slow, silent, sharp. I tried one last time during Leo's second birthday. I baked a big cake, wrapped a gift, and drove there, heart hopeful. Children's laughter came from inside. When Malene opened the door, she smiled too politely. "Oh, you came, Mom? Leo's party was yesterday." My hands froze around the ribbon of the gift. Nathan came out looking guilty. "Mom, I thought Malene called you." She laughed lightly. "He must have forgotten. He's been so busy." I knew then it wasn't forgetfulness. It was her final act of erasing me. I left the gift on the table, kissed Leo's forehead, and walked out into the cold. He looked at me with eyes that didn't remember who I was. That night, I sat with the unopened gift box in my lap. The house was silent. I didn't cry. I just stared at the wall, realizing I had been buried alive in a family that once was mine. After that, I stopped baking for holidays. No more decorations, no cards. I just bought small pine branches and set them on the table. My world shrank to the sound of the ticking clock and rain on the roof. Still, I couldn't stop caring. I saved every picture of Leo online, every smiling photo where I was never mentioned. I saw one post from Malene that said, "My little family, we don't need anyone else." For small words, we don't need anyone else. They cut deeper than any argument. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went out to the porch, wrapped a blanket around me, and watched snow fall under the yellow streetlight. I whispered, where did I go wrong? Maybe it was trusting too much. Maybe it was believing that kindness could win over manipulation. Years passed like that, silent, lonely, heavy. Until this morning. When I saw that chocolate cake, every old wound opened again. The same flavor Malene once said I shouldn't eat because of my sugar. Now sent as a gift. Too perfect. Too planned. I felt it in my gut. It wasn't kindness. It was another move in her long game. So I wrapped the cake, took a deep breath, and stepped into the rain. The taxi ride to Richard and Evelyn's house was quiet. I watched the blurred light slide across the window. I wondered if Leo, now 7, still remembered me. When I arrived, Evelyn opened the door and gasped. It's been ages. Her voice was still warm. Behind her, Richard smiled politely but hesitated when he saw the cake. I brought something, I said softly, setting the box on the table. I think you should see this. They both looked puzzled as I untied the ribbon. The smell of chocolate filled the room. The words "Happy Birthday," Mom, shone in white icing. Evelyn frowned. Did Malene send that? Yes, I said quietly. Today's my birthday. Richard's eyes narrowed slightly. She never does anything without a reason. I told them everything about the text, the years of silence, the way she isolated me. Each word came out calm but heavy. Evelyn's face paled. She couldn't have. She wouldn't, I smiled sadly. I used to think that too. Then my phone buzzed. We all froze. On the screen, maligned text. Do you like it? I typed the same reply as before. Your parents will like it more. Then I placed the phone on speaker. The room fell silent. Only the clock ticked. Evelyn held Richard's hand tightly. I stared at the cake, my heart beat steady. Then the phone rang. Her voice burst through, shaky, panicked, unlike her usual calm. Mom, did you give it to them already? I leaned back. Yes, Millen. Why? No, don't let them eat it. Please. Evelyn dropped the teacup. It rolled across the wooden floor. Richard stood, his face drained. Malin, what's in the cake? I only put laxatives, she cried. Just to make her sick. I didn't mean to, Evelyn gasped. Richard's hand trembled on the table. My own breath slowed. I felt no anger, no shock, just a strange calm. After all the years of silence, truth had finally spoken, not from my mouth, but hers. Richard's voice shook. Malene, you could have killed someone. On the phone, she sobbed. I just wanted her to feel what I felt. And at that moment, the front door opened. Nathan stepped inside. He froze when he saw me, his in-laws, and the cake on the table. Malene? He said into the phone. What's going on? Silence hung like a storm cloud. The truth was out there now, waiting to hit. Heavy and waiting to break. Nathan stood in the doorway, the phone speaker still on, his face pale. The only sound in the room was the soft hum of rain outside. Malene's shaky voice came again, breaking through the static. Please don't let them eat it. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Nathan blinked, confused. Malene, what are you talking about? Evelyn covered her mouth. Richard leaned on the table, his knuckles white. I sat quietly, watching my son's eyes move from me to the cake and back to the phone. His voice cracked. Malene, what's in that cake? On the other end came gasps, muffled sobs, and a whisper that sounded like a confession too small for such a large silence. It's just laxatives, Nathan. I only wanted her to feel weak for a few days. I wanted her to know what it's like to lose control. Nathan staggered back. You tried to poison my mother? It's not poison, Malene cried. I just wanted her to understand me. Her voice broke apart into sobs. The sound filled the whole room, twisting everything inside it. Richard's face went gray. Evelyn's tears spilled quietly. I sat still, hands folded, feeling nothing but exhaustion. For 5 years, I had been painted as the villain. Now, the truth was standing naked in the middle of the room. Nathan dropped his phone onto the table, staring at the cake like it was a ticking bomb. You could have killed her, he whispered. The line went silent. Then Mullen's voice came, weak and distant. You don't understand. She took everything from me, your love, your time, your family. Nathan's jaw tightened. No, Malene. You took those things yourself. He ended the call and lowered his head into his hands. I reached out and touched his shoulder. Nathan. He lifted his face, eyes red. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. I believed every word she said about you. I gave a small, tired smile. It's all right, son. Love makes us blind sometimes. Evelyn's sobs grew louder. My daughter did this. Richard wrapped an arm around her but said nothing. His silence was harder than shouting. After a long minute, he picked up the phone again. I'm calling my friend at the hospital. We'll have this cake tested. He stepped aside, spoke quickly, then turned back. They're expecting us. Nathan looked at me. Mom, we'll take it together. I'll drive. I nodded. The ride to the hospital was quiet. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets shining like mirrors. Nathan drove with both hands clenched on the wheel. Evelyn sat in the back seat, staring at the cake box as if it were alive. No one spoke. Inside the hospital, a doctor greeted us. Richard explained everything briefly. The doctor's face turned serious. "We'll analyze it right away." We waited in the corridor under harsh white lights. The air smelled like disinfectant and something faintly metallic. Evelyn cried quietly into a tissue. Nathan sat beside me, elbows on his knees, face pale. "Mom," he said at last, "I let her turn me against you. I thought you were controlling. I thought you wanted to ruin our marriage." I touched his hand gently. "You were young, Nathan. You wanted peace. She gave you what looked like peace." He shook his head. "No, she gave me fear. I was afraid to make her angry. Every time you called, she'd sigh and say, 'Your mom doesn't respect us.' I stopped picking up just to keep things quiet. I said softly, 'You don't have to explain anymore. You're here now.'" Half an hour later, the doctor returned with a report. "It isn't lethal," he said, "but there's a large dose of a strong laxative. For an older person with heart issues, it could have been dangerous." Evelyn buried her face in her hands. Richard thanked the doctor quietly. Nathan exhaled, shaking his head in disbelief. "She really did it." We left the hospital in silence. Night had fallen, and the city lights blurred in the drizzle. Nathan's voice finally broke the stillness. "What happens now?" Richard answered. "The police will need to know. We'll give them the recording of that call." Evelyn nodded weakly. "It's the right thing." Nathan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I'll protect Leo," he said quietly. "He won't grow up thinking this is normal." When we reached the cross house again, Evelyn made tea with trembling hands. Richard placed the cake box on the porch outside, away from everyone. We sat in the living room under a dim lamp. No one could find the right words. Nathan finally turned to me. "Mom, do you hate her?" I looked at him.
No, son.
"I don't. Hate only makes you carry their pain for them." He nodded slowly, wiping his eyes. "I just don't understand how love can turn into something so cruel." "Because love mixed with fear becomes control," I said softly. The next morning, Richard went to the police. He handed over the phone recording and the hospital report. Malene was summoned for questioning. When Nathan told her, she didn't deny sending the cake. At first, she insisted it was just a prank, a misunderstanding, but the officers had the voice recording. They played her panicked words. "They can't eat it." After that, she went silent. Days later, the story spread through the neighborhood. People who once admired her whispered in shock. The woman everyone thought perfect had cracks no one saw. Nathan moved out of their apartment with Leo and came to stay with me. The first night in my small house, Leo looked around shyly. He had grown taller, older. I knelt and smiled. "Do you remember Grandma?" He nodded slowly. "You made cookies once." Tears filled my eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. I'll make them again." That night, while Leo slept, Nathan sat at the table staring into space. "Mom, she's calling. She keeps leaving messages. Crying, apologizing, then blaming you again." I poured him tea. "Don't answer. Some truths only hurt more when you open them again." He nodded, deleted the messages, and sat quietly. For the first time in years, our house had 2 heartbeats again. Weeks passed. The police confirmed Maline's actions as intentional harm. She wasn't jailed yet, but had to attend hearings. Her parents cooperated fully. Evelyn's hair turned grayer almost overnight. She told me one evening, "We loved her so much, we refused to see who she'd become." I placed a hand on hers. Sometimes love blinds more than hate ever could. One afternoon, Nathan took Leo to school and then stopped by the courthouse for an initial hearing. When he came back, his face looked older. "She said I made her this way, that I let you come between us." I sighed. When people can't face their mistakes, they look for someone to blame. He nodded. "She cried when the judge mentioned therapy." I almost felt sorry for her. "Feeling sorry doesn't mean forgiving the harm," I said quietly. "It just means your heart is still human." That night, Leo sat beside me on the couch as we watched the rain through the window. "Grandma," he asked, "is Mommy bad?" I froze for a moment. "No, sweetheart. She's just lost. Sometimes grown-ups lose their way, but we can still hope they find it again." He smiled faintly and leaned against me. "You smell like cookies," he said before dozing off. I looked at him, at the peaceful rise and fall of his chest, and felt something I hadn't in years: peace. The court sessions continued for weeks. Each hearing peeled another layer of pretense off Million's perfect image. Recordings, messages, and witnesses showed a pattern of manipulation, isolation, and control. The judge ordered a psychological evaluation. Through it all, Nathan stayed calm, though I saw the pain behind his eyes. Sometimes he'd sit on the porch late at night, holding his phone, reading old messages from her, then deleting them one by one. One evening, he said softly, "I wasted 5 years trying to keep peace with someone who never wanted peace." I answered, "Then let's not waste one more minute on hate." Life slowly began to breathe again. Leo filled the house with chatter about school. I planted flowers on the porch. Nathan enrolled back in his counseling program, determined to finish his degree. But one evening, the phone rang again. Evelyn's number flashed on the screen. I picked up. Her voice was trembling. "Eleanor, she's not taking therapy seriously. She blames everyone. She says you framed her." I took a deep breath. "Evelyn, you did the right thing by telling the truth. Don't let guilt undo it." She sobbed softly. "We raised her. I can't believe what she's done." I looked at the window. The rain was gentle again, almost forgiving. Maybe she'll change someday. But for now, the truth has to stay stronger than the lie. The next day, Nathan got a message from the court, a temporary custody order granting him full care of Leo while the case continued. He read it aloud, voice shaking with relief. "Mom, it's official. Leo stays with me." I hugged him tight. "You did what every father should, protect his child." Weeks turned into months. The hearings moved slowly, but the outcome became clearer. Milan was ordered to stay away from all of us until final sentencing. She started attending court-mandated therapy once a week. Evelyn told me she sat through the session silent, answering in short sentences, her eyes empty. One sunny afternoon, Leo helped me water the garden. "Grandma," he said suddenly, "when people do bad things, do they get another chance?" I smiled. "Sometimes they do, but only if they really want to change." He nodded seriously, then splashed water on his shoes and laughed. That laughter filled every quiet corner of the house like sunlight through old curtains. That night, Nathan came home with takeout food and a smile I hadn't seen in years. "Mom, guess what? I finished my first semester. Top of the class." I laughed, tears in my eyes. That's my boy. We ate together, all three of us, and for the first time in so long, dinner felt like home. Still, sometimes at night, I'd hear the faint buzz of Nathan's phone. Milan kept sending messages, apologies mixed with anger, threats mixed with tears. But he no longer replied. One evening he said, "She doesn't know who she's angry at anymore, you, me, or herself." I nodded. Maybe she's angry because the story she wrote finally fell apart. That same week, Evelyn visited. She looked frail, but calmer. "She keeps saying everyone betrayed her," she said. But I told her the truth isn't betrayal. I poured her tea. "You're doing what a mother must. Face her child's darkness, not hide it." She squeezed my hand. "Thank you for not hating us." "Hate ends nothing," I replied. "Truth ends everything that's false." Months later, the final hearing was announced. Nathan prepared calmly, though I could see the tension in his eyes. Leo stayed with me that day, playing quietly with his toys. When Nathan returned that evening, he stood in the doorway for a long moment before speaking. "She admitted it, Mom. Everything." She cried in court and said she just wanted me to choose her. The judge ordered probation and therapy. I nodded slowly. "So it's over?" He sat down heavily. "Almost. She's not allowed near us for 2 years." I reached for his hand. "Then let's start again, Nathan. Not from anger, but from peace." He smiled faintly. Peace. I almost forgot what that felt like. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows. Leo ran into the kitchen, hair messy, laughter bright. "Grandma, can we bake today?" I laughed. "Yes, my little chef. We'll make cookies, not cakes." He giggled. Because cakes are trouble? I smiled. Because cookies are safe. The smell of butter and sugar filled the house. Nathan came in, still half asleep, and smiled at the sight of us. Home, he whispered. Yes, home. Not the one Milene tried to design with walls of control and silence, but a real one built from truth and forgiveness. Later that night, after Leo slept, Nathan and I sat on the porch. The air was cool, and the city lights twinkled below. He said quietly, "Mom, I don't know if I'll ever love anyone again." "You will," I said. "Just love someone who doesn't fear kindness." He nodded, then whispered, "I don't deserve forgiveness." I looked at him softly. "Forgiveness isn't earned. It's given. You already have it." He looked away, tears shining in his eyes. "Thank you." The wind rustled the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rang. I closed my eyes and whispered to the night, "Let this be enough." Inside, the clock ticked gently, not counting loneliness anymore, but marking new beginnings. And yet, deep inside, I knew the story wasn't completely over. Milene's voice still echoed faintly somewhere beyond those walls, in phone calls unanswered, in messages unseen. Sometimes the past doesn't leave quietly. It waits, patient, for the next knock on the door. 3 months had passed since the trial, and life had finally started to feel normal. Morning light filled the little kitchen, and Leo's laughter had become the soundtrack of every day. Nathan studied, worked, and smiled again. I'd begun to believe that peace could last. But peace is fragile. It breaks with one sound. That morning, the doorbell rang. I froze, holding a bowl of cookie dough in my hands. Nathan was at the university, and Leo was in his room, humming softly to himself. Through the frosted glass, I saw a shadow standing on the porch. When I opened the door, a man in a dark suit stood there. His expression was polite, but his eyes were cold. "Mrs. Price, I have a delivery for you." A small white envelope rested on his clipboard. "Who sent it?" I asked. He glanced down. "No sender's name. Just says personal. Please sign here." My heart tightened. I signed, took the envelope, and shut the door quickly. It was thin and light, sealed with red wax. On the front, written in neat handwriting, was my name, Eleanor. I walked to the table, staring at it for a long time before opening it. Inside was a single photograph. It was Leo, taken through the school fence. My breath stopped. There was also a small note in the same handwriting. "You took my family. I'll take back what's mine." For a moment, the room spun. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone. I called Nathan, but it went straight to voicemail. I called again, voice shaking. "Nathan, come home. Now." He arrived 20 minutes later, eyes wide, out of breath. I showed him the photo and the note. His face drained of color. "She can't come near us, Mom. There's a no-contact order." "She didn't come near," I said quietly. "She sent someone." He grabbed his jacket. "I'm going to the police." I nodded. "Take the note. I'll stay with Leo." After he left, I sat beside the window watching the rain start again. Fear, the kind I thought I'd buried forever, crawled back inside me. An hour later, Nathan returned wet from the rain. "They're opening a report. The officer said she might have asked someone to do this for her, but they'll need proof." Proof. That word always felt heavier than truth itself. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every small sound, the creak of a chair, the rustle of curtains, made me flinch. At 2 a.m., I checked on Leo. He was sleeping peacefully, one arm around his toy bear. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "You're safe." But outside, a car engine idled for a moment before driving away. The next morning, I found muddy footprints near the back gate. The latch was loose. Someone had been there. Nathan called the police again. They came, took photos, and promised extra patrols. But their words couldn't stop the fear. 2 nights later, it happened again. A faint knock on the door just after midnight. 3 times, soft, deliberate. I froze. "Nathan," I whispered, shaking him awake. He grabbed a flashlight and went to the window. No one. Just rain falling hard against the porch. He opened the door and shone the light across the yard. Footprints again. That night, neither of us slept. The next day, Evelyn called. Her voice was strained. "Ellen, Millette left the therapy center yesterday. She said she needed air, but she didn't come back." Nathan snatched the phone. "She's missing?" "Yes. The doctor said she walked out before the session ended." Nathan's eyes met mine, full of fear. "Mom, she's here." I felt my pulse pound. "What do you mean here?" He turned the phone toward the window. Across the street, parked under the maple tree, was a small silver car. Someone was sitting inside. We both watched in silence. The person didn't move. Rain streaked the windshield. The shape inside was blurry, but I knew that posture, that stillness. Malign. Nathan dialed the police. They arrived within 10 minutes, but when they reached the street, the car was gone. For 2 days, nothing happened. Then a letter came addressed to Nathan. "You think you can erase me? You can't. Leo is my son." Nathan's hand shook as he read it aloud. He folded it, then looked at me. "Mom, she's losing control." "She already lost it," I whispered. That night, Leo woke up crying. "Grandma, someone knocked on my window." I ran to his room. The curtains were half open. On the glass, written with a finger, were 2 words: "See me." Nathan called the police again. They increased patrols and told us to install cameras. He did, one at the porch, one near the back gate. For a few days, everything stayed quiet. We tried to act normal. Leo went to school, I baked, Nathan studied. But inside, we were all waiting for another sound in the night. Then, just when calm almost returned, the camera near the back gate caught movement. A woman in a hooded coat standing still for 10 seconds, staring straight into the lens. Then she turned and walked away. Nathan watched the footage, jaw tight. "It's her." We took the recording to the police. They confirmed the car's license plate matched Malign's. She was charged for violating the court order. A week later, officers found her car abandoned by the river, but no sign of her. Evelyn called daily, crying. "She's hiding somewhere, Eleanor. I know it." "Maybe she's trying to run," I said. "She's never run from anything," Evelyn whispered. "She waits." Days turned into weeks. The police said she had left the state. We began to breathe again. Nathan slowly started to believe it was over, but I couldn't. I felt eyes on me whenever I went to the market, footsteps that stopped when I turned. Then one evening, just as the sun was setting, I found a box on the porch. No note, no label. Inside was a small toy airplane, the exact model Leo had lost months ago, and a single strand of blonde hair taped to the lid. I couldn't move. I picked up the phone, dialed Nathan. "Come home. Now." He arrived in minutes, saw the box, and swore under his breath. "She's taunting us." "She's reminding us," I said quietly, "that she still knows where to find us." He grabbed the box, shoved it into a bag, and drove it straight to the police. That night, I stayed awake by the window. At 1 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "It's quiet tonight." I missed the sound of Leo's laugh. My heart stopped. I blocked the number instantly and called Nathan. He came out of his room, phone in hand, face pale. I got the same message. We showed the police the screenshots. They traced the number a disposable prepaid phone bought 2 towns away. After that, we moved in with a friend for a few days, hoping she wouldn't find us. But fear travels faster than distance. Even there, I woke up to knocks in my dreams. One morning, Leo ran in holding something. "Grandma, look! Someone sent me a letter at school." Nathan snatched it. Inside was a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures, a man, a woman, and a child holding hands. Underneath, written in childish scrawl, were the words "together again soon." Leo smiled innocently. "It's from Mommy." Nathan tore it in half. "She's not supposed to send you things." Leo looked confused. "But she said she misses me." Nathan hugged him tightly. "I know, buddy. But she's sick. She needs help." I turned away, hiding my tears. That night, a heavy storm hit Portland. Wind howled against the windows. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out. The whole house sank into darkness. Nathan lit a candle. "Power's out. I'll check the fuse." He stepped outside. Minutes passed. Then a knock at the door. Soft, deliberate. My hands shook. "Nathan?" I called. No answer. Another knock, 3 times. I picked up the flashlight and walked slowly toward the door. "Who's there?" A voice came, soft and cracked. "Mom, it's me." Every nerve in my body froze. "Malign." "Please," she whispered through the door. "I need to see Leo. I just want to see him." My heart raced. "Go away, Malign. You're not allowed here." Rain pounded harder. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Please, just one look. He's my son." Nathan's voice shouted from behind the house, "Mom, don't open it." But the door suddenly shook, one hard thud. Then another. "Malign, stop this," I yelled. "Let me see him," she screamed. "You all took everything from me." Nathan rushed in through the back, soaked, eyes blazing. "Get away from the door." She hit the door again. "You lied." "You all lied." Then silence. We waited. No sound but the storm. Nathan opened the curtain a crack. She was gone. He locked the door and called the police again, voice shaking. They arrived 20 minutes later. By then, the rain had washed away her footprints. The officer said, "She'll be found. We'll increase patrols." But I knew she was close. The next morning, we packed our bags and left for a friend's cabin in the countryside. It was quiet there, surrounded by tall pines and a small lake. For a few days, peace returned. Leo played with the dog, Nathan read on the porch, and I cooked simple meals. But the 4th night, I woke to a sound, a faint splash from the lake. I looked out the window. Moonlight rippled across the water. A shape moved near the shore. I woke Nathan. "Someone's out there." He grabbed the flashlight and stepped outside. The beam cut across the trees. Nothing. Only ripples fading in the dark. Then floating near the shore was something small, a white paper boat. Nathan reached for it and froze. On it, written in red ink, were the words, "You can't hide forever." We took it to the sheriff the next morning. He promised to patrol the area nightly. But the tension hung thick. That night, thunder rolled again. Nathan kept a baseball bat by his bed. I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard the floor creak in the hallway. "Nathan?" I whispered. No answer. I got up, holding my phone like a light. At the end of the hallway stood a silhouette, a woman, drenched, hair plastered to her face, eyes shining with something between love and madness. "Malign," I breathed. She took a step forward. "Where's Leo?" My heart pounded. "He's sleeping. Please, leave." She smiled, a broken, trembling smile. "You think you saved him from me? But he's mine. He always will be." Nathan burst from his room, shouting, "Get away from her." Malign turned, eyes wild. "You don't understand, Nathan. I only wanted us back." "By hurting my mother?" he yelled. She flinched, tears mixing with rain. "I just wanted you to see me again." The sheriff's sirens blared outside. Red lights flashed through the window. Malign looked at me one last time. "You never wanted me in this family." I stepped closer, voice steady. "No, Malign. I wanted you to be kind." She froze, then dropped to her knees, sobbing. The officer stormed in and gently pulled her away. She didn't fight. She just kept whispering, "I wanted to belong." As they led her out into the flashing red light, Nathan stood beside me, breathing hard. "Mom," he said softly, "is it finally over?" I looked at the rain still falling, washing away the muddy prints on the floor. "Maybe," I whispered, "but sometimes storms come back before the sky clears." The sheriff's car drove away slowly, red and blue lights fading down the wet country road. The night air smelled of rain and pine. Nathan stood beside me, arms folded, staring into the darkness long after the lights disappeared. Neither of us spoke. The silence was too full. Inside, Leo slept through everything. His small body curled under the blanket, his hand resting on his toy bear, peaceful in a world that wasn't. I looked at him and felt something break quietly inside me, not fear this time, but sadness. Nathan rubbed his face. She looked lost, Mom. Not angry. Just gone. I nodded. Sometimes anger eats the person who holds it. We stayed like that for a long time, listening to the faint sound of frogs by the lake. When we finally went back inside, the house felt heavy. But it wasn't the weight of danger anymore. It was the weight of everything left behind. The next morning, the sheriff came back. He told us Maylene had been taken to a psychiatric care unit for observation. She wasn't violent when we found her, he said softly. Just cold and crying. She kept saying she didn't remember how she got there. Nathan thanked him quietly. When the officer left, he sat down at the table, staring at the wood grain as if trying to read something written there. She needs help, he said finally. Yes, I replied. And now she'll get it. He nodded but didn't look up. I don't know how to feel, Mom. Part of me hates her. Part of me pities her. And another part just feels empty. I touched his hand. That's what healing feels like at first. Empty. Because all the noise inside you is finally gone. We stayed in the cabin for a week while the police handled the rest. Leo played outside, chasing butterflies, his laughter echoing through the trees. For the first time in months, I let myself smile without fear. One afternoon, Evelyn came. Her eyes were red but calm. She hugged me tightly, longer than ever before. She's safe now, she whispered. They said she's talking again. Slowly. She keeps asking if Leo is okay. He's fine, I said gently. He's just a child. He doesn't know the storm that passed over him. Evelyn nodded. I don't know if I can ever face her the same way. You're her mother, I said softly. You don't have to forgive everything. Just love her enough to let the truth stay. Evelyn cried quietly. We sat together by the window, two mothers bound by the same pain, loving someone who had lost their way. The following week, Nathan decided to return home. We can't hide forever, he said. Leo deserves to sleep in his own bed. So we packed, said goodbye to the quiet lake, and drove back to the city. The sky was clear, the air bright and cool. It almost felt like the world itself was trying to start over with us. The house looked smaller than I remembered, but somehow softer. The garden was overgrown, yet the flowers still tried to bloom. Leo ran ahead, shouting, "We're home." I smiled. Yes, sweetheart. We're home. Nathan stood still, looking at the porch. It feels different. It is, I said. Because we are. He nodded. You think she'll ever come back? She will, I said quietly. But not here. Not like before. Days turned into weeks. Letters came from the clinic, one every Thursday. The first one was from Maylene herself, written in shaky handwriting. Dear Nathan, I don't remember everything, but I remember loving you. I remember wanting to be perfect so you'd never leave. I don't know when that love turned into fear. Tell Leo I'm sorry. Tell your mother she was right about me. Nathan read it 3 times, then folded it neatly. Do I reply? He asked. Not yet, I said softly. Let her find her truth first. Each week, another letter came. Some were hopeful, some full of guilt. In one, she wrote they say I was unwell, that I saw enemies everywhere. I keep dreaming about the cake. I wake up shaking, thinking I've hurt someone again. Reading those words didn't bring joy, only a quiet ache. Because behind every cruel act, there was still a broken person trying to understand herself. Life slowly found rhythm again. Nathan returned to his classes. Leo went to school and made new friends. I started volunteering at the local library, shelving books and reading stories to children. Their laughter filled the halls like sunlight. One day, as I was leaving, I saw Richard waiting by his car. His hair looked whiter, his eyes tired. Eleanor, he said softly, may I talk to you? We sat on a bench near the garden. He took a deep breath. They think Melaine is improving. The doctor said she might be ready for partial release next month. I stayed quiet. She wants to see Leo, he said after a pause. Supervised, just once. For closure. I looked at him carefully. And you? He hesitated. Part of me wants that too. The other part is terrified. I understand, I said. But this isn't about us anymore. It's about what's right for Leo. He nodded. Nathan should decide. When I told Nathan that evening, he went still. Mom, how do I tell my son that his mother can't see him? By telling him the truth, I said. Gently. That night, he sat on Leo's bed, voice soft. Buddy, Mommy's getting better. She wants to see you one day, but not yet. She needs more time to heal. Leo thought for a moment. Will she be happy then? Yes, Nathan whispered. That's what we all want. Leo smiled sleepily. Then we can make cookies for her too. Nathan laughed softly. Maybe one day. Weeks passed. Milay's doctor wrote another letter confirming her progress. She was calmer, taking responsibility for her actions. Nathan agreed to one supervised visit, not at our home, but at the clinic. The morning of the visit, the sky was pale and quiet. Leo wore his favorite blue sweater. He was nervous but curious. Will Mommy hug me? Yes, Nathan said, but only if she feels ready. When we arrived, Milane was sitting in a bright room with soft chairs and big windows. Her hair was shorter now, her face thinner, but her eyes, they weren't wild anymore. They were tired, human, real. When she saw Leo, she covered her mouth and began to cry. You're so big, she whispered. Leo ran to her slowly, then stopped halfway. Are you okay now, Mommy? She nodded, tears falling. I'm trying, baby. I'm trying every day. He hugged her gently. Nathan watched, hands shaking. I stood by the door, my heart caught between sadness and relief. After a few minutes, Milane looked at Nathan. Thank you for bringing him. He nodded but said nothing. She turned to me. And thank you for not letting me destroy everything. I met her eyes. You were sick, Milane. Now you can choose to be better. She smiled weakly. I'm trying. The session ended after 30 minutes. As we walked out, Nathan exhaled slowly. That was harder than I thought. But you did it, I said. That's what matters. Back home, the evening light spilled through the windows. Leo played quietly with his toys. Nathan sat by the fire, lost in thought. Mom, he said finally, I think I forgave her. I smiled softly. Forgiveness isn't saying what she did was okay. It's saying you won't let it poison you anymore. He nodded. Then I'm done being poisoned. The next few months brought small, beautiful moments, quiet dinners, laughter on the porch, Leo's first soccer game. The shadows of fear faded, replaced by ordinary days that felt like blessings. One evening, I found another letter from Meline. This one was different. Dear Eleanor, I remember everything now. Every word I said, every wall I built. I blamed you because I couldn't face how much I hated myself. You were never my enemy. You were the only person who saw the truth, and that scared me. I hope someday I can say these words in person, not from behind paper. I folded it and placed it inside my drawer beside Leo's old drawings. Not all stories end with justice or revenge. Some end with people simply learning to live with what they broke. As summer turned to autumn, Nathan took Leo to visit Evelyn and Richard. When they came back, Leo ran to me shouting, Grandma, Mommy has a garden now. She grows sunflowers. I smiled. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Nathan added softly, she looked calm, Mom. Really calm. That's all she ever needed, I said. A reason to grow again. That night, as the house grew quiet, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea. The air smelled like rain again, but softer now. The world wasn't perfect, it never would be, but it was peaceful. And sometimes, peace is enough. Still, as I looked at the distant lights over the city, a thought lingered like a fading echo. Storms never disappear completely. They leave small clouds behind, memories, regrets, hopes. And sometimes, all you can do is learn to live under the same sky again. Autumn had settled fully over Portland. The leaves turned gold, and the air carried that gentle chill that made everything smell like memory. Life had found its rhythm again, steady and fragile, like a song you hum without realizing. Nathan was working full-time now at the community center, helping families rebuild their lives after loss. He said once, "Maybe helping others is how I fix myself." I smiled because I knew that feeling too well. Leo was growing fast. He laughed louder, ran faster, and talked about everything as if the world itself belonged to him. Some nights he would bring his school drawings to me and say, "Grandma, can we hang this next to Mommy's letter?" And we always did. The house that had once been filled with fear was now filled with paper airplanes, crayons, and the smell of cinnamon cookies. The shadows that used to haunt the corners had faded into ordinary dust. But still, sometimes I'd wake up at night and listen, not for danger, but for quiet. I had learned to appreciate the sound of nothing bad happening. One afternoon in late October, a letter arrived addressed to both Nathan and me. The handwriting was calm, steady, mail lines. We hadn't received one for almost 2 months. I held it for a moment before opening it. "Dear Nathan and Eleanor, the doctors say I can leave the center in December if I continue my progress. I'm scared. Not because of the outside world, but because I don't know who I'll be when I'm back in it. I've spent months facing myself, the lies, the jealousy, the control. It's like standing in front of a broken mirror. Every piece hurts to touch, but I'm touching them anyway. Nathan, I know I can never undo what I did, but I've stopped asking for forgiveness. I just want to live quietly, somewhere close enough to see Leo grow from afar. Not to take him from you, but to remind myself why I'm still trying. And Eleanor, I used to think you wanted to steal my family, but now I see that you were holding us all together when I was trying to tear everything apart. I hope someday, if we ever meet again, I can look at you without shame, with honesty, Milan." When I finished reading, Nathan was silent. He took the letter and read it twice. Then he placed it on the table and stared out the window. "She sounds different," he said finally. "She sounds like someone learning to live again," I replied. He nodded slowly. "Mom, if she's released, should I let her see Leo again?" "Supervised, of course." I thought about it for a long moment. "Do you trust her enough for that?" He sighed. "I don't know. But I think Leo deserves to know that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means moving forward." That evening, we sat down together and talked to Leo. His little face turned serious as Nathan explained that Mommy was getting better and might want to see him again. Leo thought for a while, swinging his legs. "If she's happy now, I want to see her, but I don't want her to cry anymore." Nathan smiled softly. "Neither do I, buddy." December came quietly. The city wore its winter coat, and Christmas lights blinked from the shops downtown. On the morning of Meline's release, snow began to fall, light, slow flakes drifting like feathers. Nathan drove to the clinic alone. I stayed home with Leo, baking cookies and trying not to imagine how it would go. He returned late that evening. His face was calm but unreadable. "She's free," he said softly. "She's renting a small apartment near her parents. The doctor said she's stable, but still fragile." I nodded. "Did she ask to see Leo?" "Yes, but she said she'd wait for our answer." Days passed. Christmas came. The house was full of warmth, Leo's laughter, the smell of pine, the sound of old songs. Yet behind it all, I felt something unfinished, like a story waiting for its final page. On New Year's Eve, Nathan came to me. "Mom, I want to take Leo to see her. Just for an hour. I'll stay the whole time." I looked into his eyes. He wasn't the same man who had once been afraid to stand up to her. He was stronger now, grounded. I nodded. "Go. But don't expect closure. Just truth." The next day they went. I stayed home pacing the floor, counting minutes. When they returned, Nathan looked tired but peaceful. Leo ran in first, smiling. "Grandma, Mommy has a Christmas tree with lights. She made cocoa for me. I smiled. Did you like it? He nodded. She hugged me and said she's sorry for everything. She didn't cry. She just smiled. Nathan stood behind him, eyes glistening. She's changing, Mom. Really changed. There's something quiet about her now, like she's finally breathing after holding her breath for years. I reached out and hugged my son. Then maybe the storm really has passed. He nodded. Yeah, I think it has. For weeks after that, Melaine stayed quiet. No sudden letters, no visits. She joined a support group, started working part-time at a local bakery, and even sent Leo small gifts, hand-drawn cards, simple, thoughtful things. Each one felt like another step away from the darkness she had once lived in. Life moved on. One evening, I found Nathan sitting on the porch, looking at the fading sunset. You know, Mom, he said, I used to think forgiveness was weakness. But it's not. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I smiled softly. That's because forgiveness isn't for them, Nathan. It's for us. He nodded. For the first time in years, I feel light. The years passed quietly after that. Leo grew taller, started middle school, and developed the same calm patience his father had. Melaine stayed in touch but kept her distance, always respectful. She sent updates sometimes about her therapy, her work, her garden that now overflowed with sunflowers. Every summer, Leo would visit her for a weekend under supervision. He'd return with stories about baking muffins and helping her paint her small kitchen yellow. He never spoke about the past, only the present. And that was enough. One day, when Leo was 12, I found a small box on my porch again. My heart froze for a second. Old memories don't vanish that easily, but when I opened it, I smiled. Inside was a simple wooden frame holding a photo of all of us, Nathan, Leo, Melaine, and me. It was taken at Leo's last birthday party. On the back was a short note in Melaine's handwriting. Thank you for keeping my family alive, even when I tried to destroy it. I sat there on the porch for a long time, holding that picture, tears running down quietly. Because in that single moment, I realized this was the ending I never thought we'd have. Not perfect, not magical, but real. The next morning, I placed that frame on the mantle, right between Leo's school photos and a small candle that I lit every Sunday morning. Peace, I had learned, doesn't mean silence. It means learning to live with the noise that life leaves behind. Years went on. Leo grew into a kind, thoughtful young man. He graduated from college, smiling in his cap and gown. Nathan cried quietly, and Melaine stood beside him, calm, proud, changed. After the ceremony, she walked up to me slowly. Eleanor, she said softly, I want to thank you for not giving up on me when everyone else did. I looked at her for a long time. There were new lines around her eyes, but her gaze was steady. You gave yourself another chance, I said. That's all I ever wanted. She smiled faintly. I still bake that chocolate cake sometimes, but now I share it with the people I love. We both laughed, a soft, human laugh, the kind that comes from understanding that the past will always be a shadow, but not the shape of who we are anymore. After that day, our lives moved in gentle circles. We saw each other at birthdays, school events, and quiet dinners. There were still moments of awkward silence, still scars that whispered under the surface, but no hatred, no fear. Just people learning how to be a family again, imperfect and alive. One evening years later, I sat by the window watching the sunset fade into gold. Leo was grown, Nathan was married again, and Melaine had moved to a nearby town to open her own small bakery. She sent me postcards every month, little notes about her recipes, her customers, and her peace. The last one she sent said, "The sky here is so blue it hurts to look at it." I never thought I'd live long enough to love something this simple. Thank you for believing that I could. I placed it beside the photo frame. The candle flickered beside it, light and steady. I closed my eyes and whispered a quiet prayer, not for forgiveness, not for anything more, just gratitude. For surviving, for healing, for finding love after the storm. And as I looked up at the sky, the same sky we all now lived under, I realized something. The storms never really disappear, but sometimes they leave behind the cleanest air. The air where you can finally breathe. If you've ever been hurt by someone you loved, remember forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from what's already over. Sometimes peace doesn't come as a gift. You have to build it slowly with shaking hands and tired hearts. But when it finally arrives, it's the most beautiful thing you'll ever hold. Tell me where you're watching from, and if you believe that people can truly change. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope tonight.